Basically, in the current context, that means that it's his job to dangle really tantalizing business proposals in front of President Trump and in front of the American business community and say, look at all of the things that could be accomplished if the war would only come to an end.
Proposals for a tunnel connecting Russia to the US have been underway for the past 6 months, according to Kirill Dmitriev, the President Putin's investment envoy, as he said earlier this week. And who will dig it? Well, he pointed in his post on X, formerly Twitter, at billionaire Elon Musk and his construction firm, The Boring Company. There's been no public comment from Mr. Musk so far, we should say. Now, the president was asked about a potential pipeline between Russia and Alaska, and he seems on board with that idea. And you can hear President Zelensky, who's also in the room, he's got a slightly different idea.
I just heard about it, a tunnel from Russia to Alaska. I just heard about that one. That's an interesting one. We'll have to think about that. I hadn't heard that. We just did a nice road in Alaska that's going to get us to a lot of minerals, and we have a piece of it, a good piece of the ownership because of the fact we made it possible. But this came up yesterday, a tunnel from Russia to Alaska. That's an interesting. What do you think of that, Mr. President? Do you have any ideas? How do you like that idea?
I'm not happy with this.
I don't think you're going to like it. I don't think he liked it. I don't think he liked it.
Hardly a surprise there. But Charles Hecker is the former journalist for the Moscow Times and author of Zero Sum, the Arc of International Business in Russia. And he's in the studio with me. Charles, welcome. Thanks for coming in.
Good afternoon.
Go on, then. Let's discuss this idea. This mile would go across the Bering Strait.
That's right.
The Bering Strait,
that's
I should
right.
say. And it would be it's the distance 70 miles.
That's
roughly.
Right. This is a 70-mile proposed tunnel under the Bering Strait, which is where the very, very far northeast of Russia and about the middle of Alaska come very close together. And when you think about these sorts of projects, you think probably about the Eurotunnel, which takes the Eurostar under the English Channel. The Eurotunnel, is half this size. So this is an enormously ambitious project. The only thing coming close to the top of my mind is something like the Elizabeth Line. The Elizabeth Line is 73 miles long. That cost £18.9 billion and took 13 years to build. And the Russians are saying that we can do this in 8 years.
What?
Exactly right. For £8 billion in one of the most forbidding parts of the world, where for part of the year there's no sunlight, where in Russia the temperatures reach as low as minus 45 degrees Celsius, and there is no other infrastructure around the site where they want to build this tunnel.
Well, there's these two tiny islands that it would go past. I mean, why do you think it's been floated? Why is President Trump being asked about it in one of these quick wire pressers?
It really stretches the imagination to the breaking point. Kirill Dmitriev is President Putin's envoy for international engagement and international investment. And basically, in the current context, that means that it's his job to dangle really tantalizing business proposals in front of President Trump and in front of the American business community and say, look at all of the things that could be accomplished if the war would only come to an end. And that's an enormous if at this point. This is the gentleman who came to talks in Riyadh earlier this year saying that American business left $350 billion on the table by leaving Russia after the outbreak of the full-scale invasion on Ukraine. But I have to say that this sort of project is beyond anybody's imagination. And I think he sort of jumped the shark on this one. I think he's said something so preposterous that I think it really damages the credibility of the entire enterprise.
But Charles, drawing on your expertise in such matters, are there discussions, do you think, going on between President Putin and President Trump about business deals, about business opportunities between the US and Russia? We know that President Trump's very transactional, and we know he'll take an opportunity if he needs one.
That's right. So the business agenda is immediately below the political agenda. And that's not just from President Trump or from his family members who may be interested in doing deals and doing business in Russia, but the U.S. business community. When it looked earlier this year, when it looked like there was a potential normalization of relations between Russia and the United States, American business people were really on the verge of packing their bags and heading back. There is, perhaps counterintuitively, a fairly robust appetite for businesses, and not just in the United States. There's a fairly robust appetite for businesses to go back to Russia once the conditions are right again.
What's the attraction, do you think?
Well, I mean, businesses that left Russia did leave billions of dollars on the table when they left. Russia, before the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Russia was becoming a fairly routine place to do business. And European companies, American companies, companies from Japan and all over the world were getting accustomed to doing deals in Russia like they were doing deals almost everywhere else. It was a lucrative market. It's a big market. It was part of globalization. It was an emerging market that matured. It's an attractive place to do business as long as you're bearing in mind political risk and geopolitical risk, which is what came around and bit everybody in the hindquarters when the full-scale invasion began.
Do you think that business, the opportunity of business, might be the key to what unlocks the conflict? If Donald Trump can dangle something big enough to Vladimir Putin, or vice versa, that deal between the two countries may be attractive enough for Russia to stop their aggression.
That's right. So there are large numbers of American businesses and business people banging down the doors of the White House saying, please resolve this war so that we can go back and do business. Kirill Dmitriev, this is his number one job right now, is to make the economic proposition so tantalizing and so appealing that it moves the political dial. There are some Russian businesses that are saying, you know what, we really want to get our seat back at the global business table the way we had it before the war. On the other hand, there are some Russian businesses that are saying, look, all of these folks left when the going got tough. We don't want them back anymore. We're doing this on our own. We're doing it without them. We have China. We have India. We have lots of other partners to do business with. We don't need the Americans. We don't want the Europeans. They turned and ran. But I think that there is sufficient momentum behind the European and the American business community saying, look, get this over and done with. We want to go back and do business.
Charles, thank you. Good to see you. Thank you for coming in. Charles Hackett there, former journalist for the Moscow Times and author of Zero Sum, The Arc of International Business in Russia.